Hey, what's going on, y'all? For any of y'all that helped me on my garden video back when I first planted this thing, really appreciate it. I'm going to show y'all the results of some of y'all's comments. Y'all take a look at this beautiful garden. It is looking excellent. Best looking garden that I've ever had. Did plant everything a little further apart so I could get a tiller in between it this year, which is keeping it maintained. But also any kind of fertilizer ideas, compost ideas, even the fish, all these fish that I've been catching, putting on these videos, we took everything after we cleaned them and just used it to spread out in these tomatoes and stuff. And y'all, they have just exploded. Like, y'all check out these tomato plants. I mean, they look so good. Real dark green, thick, real heavy vines. And I mean, all of them have just got tomatoes. I mean, you can see there's a fish skin right there. But I mean, they are just loaded with tomatoes. And big, I mean, really pretty tomatoes all the way down through here. I've actually got 40 plants, and I think every single one of them are doing about as good as the next. But I mean, we've got some just giant tomatoes. I mean, look at these tomatoes growing in here. See how big that is. These right here, I mean, just huge. Really pretty. That's my purple hull peas and my black beans. We'll check out these blackberries. It won't be too long and I'm going to have a pile of blackberries. Y'all see how I've got them done on T-posts. On my first video, I kind of showed y'all a little bit how I did them, but y'all can see we can even mow in between them. I've just got them, you know, up on this wire and on those T-posts, used zip ties and just zip tied them up as they're growing. You can see how these big vines grow out here like this. You just take that, put it up, zip tie it up, get it up out of the way. Then you can mow all around that, keep that maintained, and I just tilled next to it. But all the dirt, I mean, it looks great out here. It's holding a lot of moisture. You can even see, like, if I dig down, I mean, look at that. See how dark that is? A good moist soil. See how it's sticking together? We did a little bit of composting and stuff the first few weeks after I had planted. And luckily the neighbor for years and years had a bunch of cattle and stuff, so I was able to get some manure. I was able to get some grass clipping stuff, mix some stuff in, and we've just been incorporating it into this dirt this entire spring. And I really do believe that this has made this soil better than it's been since I've lived here. That was 15 years ago. So I'm really looking forward to, like, the next few years once this really gets going and this spot just gets, you know, more and more compost put in it. But here's my cucumbers. We plant pickling cucumbers so we can do homemade pickles we love. I've already picked a few off some of these plants. Some on here just about big enough to, getting big enough to pick now. They're all doing really good. And these are my Roma tomatoes and the sweet potato plants. Sweet potato plants are doing fantastic. Romas are absolutely loaded too. I mean, just filled with tomatoes. I mean, y'all, look at this. There's just so many. Look at all those tomatoes. What I've done, this is a little bit different, the way that I strap these things up, if y'all were wondering. In the past, I've staked tomatoes, I've put up tomato cages. I've done just about anything that I could think of, trying to keep these off the ground and make it manageable and make it where it wasn't too hard to come out here and maintain. That's the worst thing about a garden, is having to maintain it. So anything you can do to make it easier and still have good vegetables, I mean, it's just better. So what I did this time, I took about a 100-foot rope and I drove 2 of these T-posts in the ground with post drivers. I've got one on this end and one on the far end. Took a 100-foot rope and I've got that thing strung really tight all the way down to the end, tied it off, and then run it all the way back. It's on either side of those tomato plants. You see it run down through there. And then I've got this top one strung up here really tight, and I took a couple of pieces off the end of this rope, run it over the top, and just held that up to just brace some of that weight off the center here as it's going to those posts. But all you got to do, you know, if you get branches that start growing up, you reach down here and get this branch, just pull it up over the top of that, and it'll just hold it up. And I've never tried this before, but so far, I mean, it's working just fine. These plants are getting big, and the weight is still being held up pretty well. If you had to, you could run another run of rope down through here. And rather than having to do every single individual plant, the good thing about planting them this close together, which is something else I tried different this year, is it acts like a hedgerow. So as those plants are growing, they're going to hold each other up to this direction, and then the rope's going to hold them this direction. So you don't have to worry about them falling too much, you know, back and forth, because they're going to be up against one another. As long as you've got enough to hold them up on the sides, then they should be good, even once they get heavy and full of tomatoes. And there again, you know, if you have to put another rope on there, you can. But the difference is the big, huge tomato cages, I mean, they cost upwards of close to $10 now a piece. And I've got 40 plants out here. So, I mean, I'm not paying $400 for tomato cages. And even if you build them, it's still expensive if you're talking about doing that many at one time. Whereas rope, I could put 10 ropes on here if I had to, and a rope is about $2. So even if you cut them off and throw them in the garbage, I mean, they're almost disposable. And it's just a great way to do it. Really, I mean, this didn't take 10 minutes for me to do, and it's going to hold my tomato plants up, keep everything off the ground. So now the only challenge is going to be is hornworms. Once they start hatching, those moths start laying, I'm going to have to really keep an eye out here for any kind of tomato worms getting these things, because I've got a lot of plants and they're going to want a whole lot of this. So hopefully we'll be okay with that. But guys, anyway, appreciate y'all coming out here with me, and appreciate y'all helping me out, giving me some of these ideas to get this thing going, because I mean, like I said, you can just see how beautiful this looks. I mean, it just doesn't get a whole lot better than that, at least not for me. This is the best looking garden I've ever had so far, even though I don't have that many different kinds of vegetables. This is all we needed this year. And thanks to y'all's help, this right here is what we're growing. So guys, that's one thing that is great about YouTube. One thing that's great about my subscribers. Appreciate y'all tuning in. We'll see y'all in the next video.